Hello, and thank you for joining us for this another episode of Seeing Live, and I'm Colion Noir. We've got a lot of topics to cover today. The first is Hawaii, the Aloha State. A place basically where we have a grand total of 0 gun permits issued last year. So here to talk about it with us is George Pace, a Second Amendment advocate in Hawaii. What's going on, George?
Hey, aloha, Colion. Thank you for having me.
Oh, no problem. The pleasure is all mine. So tell us about the permit process in Hawaii.
Well, if you don't mind, I'd like to actually read one sentence from the law itself.
Absolutely.
Just because when I say certain things about how this works, some people are going to think I'm either paraphrasing and getting it wrong or misinterpreting. So I want to have the exact quotes from several of these things. In this case, it's Hawaii Revised Statutes 134.9, licenses to carry. It says, in an exceptional case, when an applicant shows reason to fear injury to the applicant's person or property, the chief of police of the appropriate county, blah, 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 may grant a license. So that's what it requires. It requires that you are deemed by them to be an exceptional case. Now, what does exceptional case mean? I've asked them several times, and it's hard to get an actual specific answer.
Yeah.
But what they do say is that typically you need documentation of a specific threat. However, after stating that, the next sentence in this letter from the new chief of police of Hawaii County is, if an applicant has received documented threats of violence or can otherwise demonstrate being specifically at risk of harm, an exceptional case may exist, with the word may in italics. So even if you present documented evidence of a threat of harm, it's no guarantee that you'll be granted a CCW license. So basically, we don't know what the criteria are.
That's absolutely insane to me. It's literally like they pretty much have their own de facto, pretty much gun ban for all intents and purposes. I'm still trying to figure out how they managed to get away with doing this, considering.
Well, that's what it is. It is a de facto ban. And let me take you through the history of this.
Okay.
The only history that we know for sure is since the year 2017, when the Attorney General's office mandated that every Hawaii County Police Department monthly turn in a record of all the guns registered, all the guns registration attempts denied, etc., including applications for concealed carry and open carry licenses. Now, open carry licenses on the form from the actual counties themselves, which I happen to have right here, a monthly form, the open carry is not called open carry, it's called security. Which means that only people who are employed by a security firm, and they can only do that when they are in uniform and on the clock. They can't drive to and from their job with their gun in their holster. It has to be unloaded in an enclosed container, just like everybody else. Now, the concealed carry permits are not called concealed carry. They're called licenses to carry, parentheses, citizens.
Yeah.
So that's what they call it. Now, how do they get away with that? That's a good question. Basically, they can interpret the law any way they want to, and that's why we don't know what we can do. I've specifically asked our police chief in our county, please supply me with 5 statements that, if written verbatim on an application for a concealed carry license, would result in that person being granted a concealed carry license.
Yeah.
And he won't give me. He says it's a case-to-case basis, blah, 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 what I just read you.
A case-to-case basis where, in their eyes, none exist.
Exactly. Well, none that we know of. Starting in the year 2000, the Attorney General required that these forms be submitted to the Attorney General. And we know that in the year 2001, 2 CCW licenses were issued in the county of Maui. Now, talking to Maui PD, they claim that all those records have been destroyed and that nobody that's currently there knows anything about it. Who those people were, what situation they were in, or anything. I've been really specific. I said, look, I don't want to know any names. I don't know any specifics about what the threat was so you could identify a person. I just want to know the general circumstances.
Yeah.
They say that doesn't exist. The next license was issued in 2006. That was in the county of Kauai, and that was issued to a judge.
So what did they say didn't exist? They said there was no record of the people who the particular people who applied for a concealed handgun permit and got it. Like there was no record of the reasoning behind why they were allowed to have it existing.
Exactly.
But then there isn't there. But at the same time, I still have to register not only if I applied for a CHL, but also if I had a gun, I have to register those guns and so forth and so on. So there's a registry for all the firearms in Hawaii, but there's no documentation whatsoever that demonstrates why somebody was allowed to have a concealed carry permit.
Right, exactly. Yeah, every firearm must be registered. But in those cases, there wasn't, and I understand the privacy issues, but I said I went to great lengths to make clear to them, I don't want any potentially identifying information.
Yeah.
I just want to know the generalities. Like in this case in Kauai, I hate to say this, but it was due to the incompetence of the Kauai Police Department that I discovered who this person was.
Gotcha.
So, because I didn't want any identifying information. Anyway, then we go from 2006, and we go on and on and on and on. And the last permit issued, the fourth permit issued in the state of Hawaii since the year 2000, was in 2013, also on Kauai. And even though the law says that the term, it says, quote, the license shall expire 1 year from date of issue.
I'm sorry. So there's a year. So okay. So if you apply for license, you actually get it. It only lasts for a year.
It lasts for 1 year. Then you have to apply for renewal. So this person was granted a license, and the license was granted. This is my understanding from Kauai PD. They granted the license for a term of 9 days.
I'm sorry. I'm laughing because it's so ridiculous. Like it's what?
Well, and the 2006 license to the judge was granted for 4 months. So I got in this big thing with Kauai PD. I said, please, I want to get the information about where in the statutory regulations it says that any police chief has discretion about the term of the license. Maybe I overlooked something.
Yeah.
I just see one sentence in there. It says the license shall expire 1 year from date of issue. I didn't see anything else. And they stonewalled me. I started inquiring into this January 3rd of 2016. So here we are, a year and a month later, and I don't really know anymore. I even filed Hawaii's equivalent of a FOIA, Freedom of Information Act request.
Yeah. And
they stonewalled that, and what they finally sent me was 2 copies of the 2 licenses that they issued that were heavily redacted. But
what's interesting is that a lot of people look at a lot of other states like California, and New Jersey and Chicago, all of these places that people claim are just severe anti-gun draconian states, and they are for all intents and purposes. But then you have places like Hawaii, which kind of float below the radar, and nobody realizes how bad the gun laws are there. Not even just on paper, but the way that they're actually enforcing them or not enforcing the laws that they have on the books. And what is it? Is this pervasive throughout the population of people in Hawaii, or is this something that just takes place in the political sphere in terms of this kind of anti-gun mentality?
Well, I'm not really sure, but I believe it's pervasive in the population. When you look at the trends of the voting, Hawaii, for one, has the lowest voter turnout in the United States. Now, part of that might be because usually the networks have announced the winners of the national elections before the polls are even closed in Hawaii.
Gotcha.
Hawaii has almost no influence because of the small number of people. We only have 1.4 million citizens. It's hard to say what the real causes of it are. I mean, I don't want to get into some of the speculation because it has to do with cultural things.
Gotcha.
And makeup of our population and their traditions and stuff. And I don't know if any of that's true.
Okay.
So I don't really know what the explanation is, but I can tell you that the Hawaii State Senate is 100% Democrats, and the Hawaii State House of Representatives is 88% Democrats.
Jesus.
So we don't see a lot of favorable Second Amendment civil rights legislation coming out of our legislature. And of course, we're part of the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, which is the same sort of view of Second Amendment rights.
Yeah.
So it's pretty pervasive. There's not a lot of gun owners here. The gun owners that there are, they seem to me to be on the apathetic side. it's hard to get people inspired to even just call legislators or send them emails or anything to try and make it. I have a testimony on a bill.
Yeah.
Last year, somebody submitted a bill that you have to undergo a state mental health evaluation within 90 days prior to purchasing any firearm. So say you've saved up, and every 3 months you have saved up enough money to purchase a gun.
Yeah.
Well, then every 90 days you'd have to go out of your own pocket, pay an approved mental health professional to have a mental health evaluation. And what kind of an error do you think those people are going to make? Which side are they going to err on in terms of their liability?
Yeah, they're going to err on the side.
And like six people to submit testimony to the committee opposing it. Come on, man, nobody cares.
Jesus.
It's frustrating.
I like it baffles me a little bit because even though Hawaii flew under the radar, even for me, somebody who's actually in tune with a lot of this stuff, and so it's just interesting how really bad the gun laws in Hawaii are, and I'm kind of at a loss because everything you're telling me right now seems inherently, unbelievably unconstitutional, but yet here it is happening in our country.
Yeah, it's unbelievable to me too, and I'm here and I have to live with it every day. And
yeah.
Part of my frustration that I'm glad I can get on your show and publicize this a little bit.
Absolutely.
I read all these articles and everybody's bemoaning New Jersey and California, et cetera, et cetera. And I understand all have unconstitutional restrictive laws too, but nobody ever says and Hawaii.
Yeah, no, you're right. I'm going to start saying and Hawaii. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah,
that I can definitely tell you. Well, thank you very much, George. Man, I feel for you, man. I really do. But I thank you for the work that you're doing out there to get the word out, and I hope you continue to do so. I've never actually been to Hawaii. I plan to visit at some point. But I mean, hell, the way the gun laws are there, I don't know. But
you just don't bring a gun because there's no reciprocity with any other state, so nobody can carry here, and you'll be in trouble.
Man, that's unfortunate.
Plus, even if you just bring one to shoot at a range, you have to register it within 72 hours of being here.
Jesus.
You have to go stand in line at the police department. Part of your vacation.
Yeah, well, that Hawaii trip just got postponed.
I understand, man.
But thank you very much, George, and you definitely have a good one.
All right, thanks a lot, Colion. I appreciate it.
No problem. Coming up next, Breitbart's Second Amendment writer, A.W.R. Hawkins, joins us to update us on the ammo ban and the Social Security gun grab after this quick break.